Hello there, and welcome to this first look exploring session where today we are looking at the Revenger's Tragedy. This is the third part of the play. If you haven't seen the first two sessions, please do go and find them. They will be on YouTube. Today we are going from Act 4, Scene 2, and we're going to see if there's any more revenging left to be had. Helping me to discover that is this wonderful room of readers. We're going to be going through it today and playing Spurio, First Noble, First Gentleman, and First Lord today is...
Alan in Suffolk.
Playing Duchess, First Servant, and Antonio, we have...
Lynn in the northwestern United States.
Playing Ambitioso is...
Kyle in Tucson.
Playing Hippolito is...
Aliki in Athens.
Playing Gratiana, Second Servant, and Fourth Man today we have...
Rachel in Canada.
Playing Vindice today is...
Mark in the Midwest United States.
Playing Supervacuo, Piero, and Second Noble we have...
Lois in London.
And playing Lussurioso and Castiza today we have...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I'm still wondering how all these people are still alive.
It's a good question. And I am your host, Sarah Blake, stepping in temporarily for Robert Crighton, who will be back. Normal order will be resumed forthwith. Today I am going to be reading the stage directions, and I'm also playing Third Lord / Noble. So, okay, we'll kick off straight away with Act 4, Scene 2, where we have the entrance of Vindice and Hippolito. Vindice is out of his disguise.
So, all's as it should be. You are yourself.
How that great villain puts me to my shifts.
He that did lately in disguise reject thee, shall, now thou art thyself, as much respect thee.
'Twill be the quainter fallacy. But, brother Sfoot, what use will he put me to now, think'st thou?
Nay, you must pardon me from that, I know not. He has some employment for you, but what 'tis, he and his secretary, the devil, know best.
Well, I must suit my tongue to his desires, what colour soe'er they be, hoping at last to pile up all my wishes on his breast.
Faith, brother, he himself shows the way.
Now the Duke is dead, the realm is clad in clay. His death being not yet known, under his name the people still are governed. Well, thou his son are not long lived, thou shalt not joy his death. To kill thee, then, I should most honour thee, for 'twould stand firm in every man's belief, thou'st a kind child and only diedst with grief.
You fetch about well. But let's talk in the present. How will you appear in fashion different, as well as in apparel, to make all things possible? If you be but once tripped, we fall forever. It is not the least policy to be double. You must change tongue. Familiar was your first.
Why, I'll bear me in some strain of melancholy, and string myself with heavy-sounding wire, like such an instrument that speaks merry things sadly.
That is as I meant. I gave you out at first in discontent.
I'll tune myself, and then...
Sfoot, here he comes. Has thought upon it?
Salute him, fear not me.
And enter Lussurioso.
Hippolito!
Your lordship.
What's he yonder?
'Tis Vindice, my discontented brother, whom, according to your will, I have brought to court.
Is that thy brother? Beshrew me a good presence. I wonder he has been from the court so long. Come nearer.
Brother, Lord Lussurioso, the Duke's son.
Be more to us. Welcome. Nearer yet.
How don you, Gooden?
And he snatches off his hat and, this is what it says in the stage direction, makes legs to him.
We thank thee. How strangely such a coarse, homely salute shows in the palace where we greet from fire, nimble and desperate tongues. Should we name God in a salutation? 'Twould ne'er be stood on heaven. Tell me, what has made thee so melancholy?
Why, going to law.
Why will that make a man melancholy?
Yes, to look long upon ink and black buckram. I went me to law in anno quadragesimo secundo, and I waited out of it in anno sexagesimo tertio.
What, 23 years in law?
I've known those that have been 55 and all about Poland and pigs.
May it be possible such men should breed to vex the terms so much?
'Tis food to some, my lord. There are old men at the present that are so poisoned with the affectation of law words, having had many suits canvassed, that their common talk is nothing but Barbary Latin. They cannot so much as pray but in law, but their sins may be removed with a writ of error, and their souls fetched up to heaven with a sasarara.
It seems most strange to me, yet all the world meets round in the same bent. Where the heart's set, there goes the tongue's consent. How dost apply thy studies, fellow?
Study, why, to think how a great rich man lies a-dying, and a poor cobbler tolls the bell for him, how he cannot depart the world and see the great chest stand before him when he lies speechless, how he will point you readily to all the boxes, and when he has past all memory, as the gossips guess, then thinks he of forfeitures and obligations. Nay, when to all men's hearings he whirls and rattles in the throat, he's busy threatening his poor tenants. And this would last me now some 7 years thinking, or thereabouts. But I have a conceit a coming in picture upon this. I draw it myself, which, if faith, I'll present to your honor. You shall not choose but like it, for your honor shall give me nothing for it.
Nay, you mistake me then, for I am published bountiful enough. Let's taste of your conceit.
In picture, my lord?
Aye, in picture.
Marry, this it is. A usuring father to be boiling in hell, and his son and heir with a whore dancing over him.
He has pared him to the quick.
The conceit's pretty in faith, but take it upon my life, 'twill ne'er be liked.
No, why, I'm sure the whore will be liked well enough.
If she were out of the picture, he'd like her then himself.
And as for the son and heir, he shall be an eyesore to no young revellers, for he shall be drawn in cloth of gold breeches.
And thou hast put my meaning in the pockets, and canst not draw that out. My thought was this, to see the picture of a usuring father boiling in hell. A rich man would never like it.
Ah, true, I cry you heartily mercy. I know the reason, for some of them had rather be damned in deed than damned in colors.
Heartless melancholy has wit enough to murder any man, and not give him means. I think thou art ill-moneyed.
Ah, money! That had been my want so long, 'tis now my scoff. I've even forgot what color silver's of.
It hits as I could wish.
I get good clothes of those that dread my humor, and for table room I feed on those that cannot be rid of me.
Somewhat to set thee up withal.
And he gives him money.
Oh, mine eyes!
How now, man?
Almost struck blind. This bright, unusual shine to me seems proud. I dare not look till the sun be in a cloud.
I think I shall affect this melancholy. How are they now?
The better for your asking.
You shall be better yet, if you but fasten truly on my intent. Now you're both present, I will unbrace such a close private villain unto your vengeful swords the like ne'er heard of, who hath disgraced you much and injured us.
Disgraced us, my lord?
Aye, Hippolito, I kept it here till now, that both your angers might meet him at once.
I'm covetous to know the villain.
You know him, that slave pander Piero, whom we threatened last with irons and perpetual imprisonment.
All this is I.
Is he, my lord?
I'll tell you, you first preferred him to me.
Did you, brother?
I did indeed.
And the ungrateful villain to quit that kindness strongly wrought with me, being as you see a likely man for pleasure, with jewels to corrupt your virgin sister.
Oh, villain!
He shall surely die that did it.
I, far from thinking any virgin harm, especially knowing her to be as chaste as that part which scarce suffers to be touched, the eye, would not endure him.
Would you not, my lord? 'Twas wondrous honorably done.
But with some few frowns kept him out.
Out, slave.
What did me he, but in revenge of that went of his own free will to make infirm your sister's honor, whom I honor with my soul for chaste respect, and not prevailing there, as 'twas but desperate folly to attempt it, in mere spleen, by the way, waylays your mother, whose honor being a coward as it seems, yielded by no little force.
Coward indeed.
He, proud of this advantage as he thought, brought me this news for happy, but I, heaven forgive me for it,
What did your honor?
in rage pushed him from me, trampled beneath his throat, spurned him and bruised. Indeed, I was too cruel to say truth.
Most nobly managed.
Has not heaven an ear? Is all the lightning wasted?
If I now were so impatient in a modest cause, what should you be?
Full mad. He shall not live to see the moon change.
He's about the palace. Hippolito, entice him this way, that thy brother may take full mark of him.
Heart, that shall not need, my lord. I can direct him so far.
Yet for my hate's sake, go, wind him this way, I'll see him bleed myself.
What now, brother?
Nay, Ian, what you will. You're put to it, brother.
An impossible task, I'll swear, to bring him hither that's already here.
And exit Hippolito.
Thy name, I have forgot it.
Vindice, my lord.
That's a good name, that.
Aye, a revenger.
It does betoken courage, that thou shouldst be valiant and kill thine enemies.
That's my hope, my lord.
This slave is one.
I'll doom him.
Then I'll praise thee. Do thou observe me best, and I'll best raise thee.
And re-enter Hippolito.
Indeed, I thank you.
Now, Hippolito, where's the slave pander?
Your good lordship would have a loathsome sight of him, much offensive. He's not in case now to be seen, my lord. The worst of all the deadly sins is in him, that beggarly damnation, drunkenness.
Then he's a double slave.
'Twas well conveyed upon a sudden wit.
What, are you both firmly resolved? I'll see him dead myself.
Or else let not us live.
You may direct your brother to take note of him.
I shall.
Rise but in this, and you shall never fall.
Your honor's vassals.
This was wisely carried. Deep policy in us makes fools of such. Then must the slave die when he knows too much.
And exit Lussurioso.
Oh, thou almighty patience! 'Tis my wonder that such a fellow, impudent and wicked, should not be cloven as he stood, or with a secret wind burst open. Is there no thunder left? Or is it kept up in stock for heavier vengeance? There it goes.
Brother, we lose ourselves.
But I have found it. 'Twill hold, 'tis sure. Thanks to any spirits that mingled it mongst my inventions.
What is't?
'Tis sound and good. Thou shalt partake it. I'm hired to kill myself.
True.
Prithee, mark it. And the old duke being dead, but not conveyed, for he's already missed two, and you know, murder will peep out of the closest husk.
Most true.
What say you then to this device? If we dressed up the body of the duke.
In that disguise of yours.
You are quick, you have reached it.
I like it wondrously.
And being in drink, as you have published him, to lean him on his elbow, as if sleep had caught him, which claims most interest in such sluggy men.
Good yet, but here's a doubt. We, thought by the Duke's son to kill that pander, shall, when he is known, be thought to kill the Duke.
Neither. Oh, thanks, it is substantial. For that disguise being on him, which I wore, it will be thought I, which he calls the pander, did kill the Duke, and fled away in his apparel, leaving him so disguised to avoid swift pursuit.
Firmer and firmer.
Nay, doubt not, 'tis in grain, I warrant it holds color.
Let's about it.
By the way, too, now I think on it, brother, let's conjure that base devil out of our mother.
And they exit, and that's the end of the scene. What could possibly go wrong with this plot? Thoughts from the room, Lynn?
Now I'm unmuted. There's so much. I want to kind of go back to the early part of this scene where there's this sort of long discussion about how Vindice went to law school. You know, that's the first passage in this play that I can remember that's really basically thematic. It doesn't move the plot along, and I don't know what to make of that. But there it is in the middle of the play, actually towards the end. We stop and have a little discussion that reflects ironically on the plot of the play. It just seems a little late for that kind of set piece. So I don't know what to make of that. That's just an observation. But yeah, just better and better. Oh no, I've been hired to kill myself. Now I know we'll take my old disguise, we'll put it on the Duke, then they'll find the Duke in my old disguise, and then they'll think, oh, Pietro must have killed the Duke and run away. I mean, the plot it's just monstrously clever.
It's got to be foolproof, this scheme, hasn't it? Anyone else got any thoughts on this scene? I did, just in case you were wondering, Mark, I did look up Sasarara. And apparently it has two definitions. It can mean a scolding or blow, or it can be a word used to accentuate or stress a statement, which I guess is what it was. That was what it was intended for in the context of that little set piece about lawyering. Alan?
I'm just wondering whether this play has a performance history with one of the Inns of Court. That's why this legal stuff was put in, which seems to bear very little relationship to anything else.
Yeah.
Almost, and now a word for our sponsor.
Yeah, or now a little joke for our audience who are going to get this. I don't know. Lois, do you know anything about the performance history of this?
No, I mean, what we do know is that it dates from something like, I think it was published 1607, wasn't it? Which means that it's in these early years of King James, when there was an awful lot of plague and when productions were often given in private residences and, among others, at the Inns of Court, where it would have gone over beautifully, I think.
Yeah. Perhaps it was.
Satire on the law is a big thing anyway. I mean, there's a lot of it, but yeah, I think it would have been quite fun there. And also the complexity of the plot would probably have been very pleasing to a lot of law students.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe it was. Maybe it was a production at the Inns of Court. Eric?
I feel like this is the kind of play where it's like, heaven forbid if you have an interval, because if you start thinking about it, you're going to get confused. And like, obviously, either confused or just like, you'll forget what happened. Because there's so many elements to this plot that I'm just like, I don't know if the actors themselves would be able to keep track, let alone the actual audience. But maybe that's just me. I don't know.
I guess if you'd learned your lines, maybe you'd be able to keep. I guess it depends on whether you're working from a Q script or not. I saw other hands there, Lois and then Lynn.
I think a lot of the pleasure is just in the sense that it's terribly complicated, and watching people being so ingenious. I mean, Vindice is obviously too clever for his own good, and the satisfaction that he's taking in the complexity of the thing, quite apart from the moral thing. And then suddenly, right at the end, he's been horrified at what he's had to do with his mother and sister. And then we now get, oh, by the way, too, now I think on it, let's go and do something about our mother. I mean, you'd think this would have been, a bit more in the forefront of his mind. But then, and then there's really funny situation where Hippolito is told to go find Vindice, who of course is right there and is trying to desperately think of a way out of this, and then finally comes back saying, "Oh, I couldn't bring him because he's drunk." And the two of them are kind of tossing this back and forth. No, I don't need to go. What are you going to do? I don't know. It's up to you. You do it. I don't know. I think it's terribly funny, even if you can't. And surely most audiences could get it. There's also a kind of interesting fact that symbolically, I mean, most revengers do either die in the end or kill themselves. And the fact that Vindice is sort of symbolically enacting this is sort of saying something about the nature of revenge.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's complicated, but it's quite clear what's going on. And I say that as someone who actually wasn't here for the last session and pretty much forgot most of what happened in the first session, which I was here for. So that bears out your theory, Eric. But I mean, I think, you can imagine, actors having a lot of fun with this scene and kind of really, leaning into the cleverness of it, and the audience just like finding it very, very entertaining. Lynn, you had something to say.
Yeah, I really like Alan's conjecture that that this is sort of an in-joke for a law school audience. That really resonates. That just seems, yeah, that certainly fits. But the other thing about this sort of disquisition on the law, I mean, I realize in this period when we talk about the law, it's mainly civil actions, people suing each other. But the way we think of the law, we think more of criminal law, and this sort of irony that, like, I went to law school, and this whole play is about extrajudicial justice.
Yeah, true.
We're operating way outside any concept of the law, and everyone is. That's just kind of a great irony.
Yeah, makes me think. Yeah, that makes it an even better fit actually for an Inns of Court performance. Eric, and then we must move on.
Yeah, but I mean, you do have, like, the modern equivalent would be How to Get Away with Murder, where the actual main character teaches criminal, I think it's forensic science or something like that, or it's either forensic science or something to do with criminal justice.
It's criminal defense.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Very good. Right. Okay. Well, let's move on then and see what happens next. We're going into Act 4, Scene 3. Enter the Duchess, arm in arm with Spurio. He seemeth lasciviously to look on her. Again, this is the stage direction. I'm not making this up. After them, enter Supervacuo, running with a rapier. Ambitioso stops him.
Madam, unlock yourself. Should it be seen, your arm would be suspected.
Who is it that dare suspect, or this, or these? May we not deal our favors where we please?
Well, I'm confident you may.
And exit Spurio and Duchess.
Brother, brother, hold.
What, let the bastard shame us?
Hold, brother. There's fitter time than now.
Now, when I see it.
'Tis too much seen already.
Seen and known. The nobler she is, the baser is she grown.
If she were bent lasciviously, the fault of mighty women that sleep soft, oh death, must she need choose such an unequal sinner to make all worse?
A bastard, the Duke's bastard, shame heaped on shame.
Oh, our disgrace. Must women have small waists the world throughout, and their desires are 1,000 miles about?
Come, stay not here, let's after and prevent, or else they'll sin faster than we'll repent.
And exit Ambitioso and Supervacuo, and that's the end of that scene. It's tiny. We've got some very dischuffed brothers, sons, and yeah. Anyone got anything to say about that scene, that little scene, before we move on to the next one? It's fairly self-evident. Lynn?
I think it's largely structural because Vindice and Hippolito come back in the next scene. We've got the law of reentry. But it also, like, sets the mood that the Duchess is overconfident, and the brothers now know. So it's so funny because, like, the last scene had all this extraneous material, and this is kind of pure plot and very brief. So it's the pacing is interestingly syncopated.
Yes, it is. Indeed. Right, let's see what happens to it next. Act 4, Scene 4. Enter Vindice and Hippolito, bringing out their mother, Gratiana, one by one shoulder and the other by the other, with daggers in their hands.
Thou for whom no name is bad enough.
What mean, my sons? What, will you murder me?
Wicked, unnatural parent.
Fiend of women.
Oh, our sons turned monsters. Help!
In vain.
Are you so barbarous as to set iron nipples upon the breast that gave you suck?
That breast is turned to quarreled poison.
Cut not your days for it. Am I not your mother?
Thou dost usurp that title now by fraud, for in that shell of mother breeds a bawd.
A bawd, a name far loathsomer than hell.
It should be so, knewst thou thy office well.
I hate it.
Is possible, you powers on high, that women should dissemble when they die?
Dissemble?
Did not the Duke's son direct a fellow of the worst condition hither, that did corrupt all that was good in thee, made thee uncivilly forget thyself, and work our sister to his lust?
Who, I? That had been monstrous. I defy that man for any such intent. None lives so pure, but shall be soiled with slander. Good son, believe it not.
Oh, I'm in doubt whether I am myself or no. Yes, stay, let me look upon this face. Who shall be saved when mothers have no grace?
Would make one half despair.
I was the man. Defy me now. Let's see, do it modestly.
Oh, hell unto my soul.
In that disguise I, sent from the Duke's son, tried you and found you base metal, as any villain might have done.
Oh, no, no tongue but yours could have bewitched me so.
Nimble in damnation, quick in ruin, I assume that's supposed to be. There is no devil could strike fire so soon. I'm confuted in a word.
Oh, sons, forgive me. To myself I'll prove more true. You that should honor me, I kneel to you.
And she kneels and weeps.
A mother to give aim to her own daughter.
True, brother, how far beyond nature 'tis, though many mothers do it.
Nay, and you draw tears once, go you to bed. Wet will make iron blush and change to red. Brother, it rains, so spoil your dagger. How's it?
'Tis done.
If faith is a sweet shower, and does much good. The fruitful grounds and meadows of her soul have long been dry. Pour down, thou blessed dew. Rise, mother. Troth, this shower has made you higher.
Oh, you heavens, take this infectious spot out of my soul. I'll rinse it in 7 waters by mine eyes. Make my tears salt enough to taste of grace. To weep is to our sex naturally given, but to weep truly, that's a gift from heaven.
Nay, I'll kiss you now. Kiss her, brother. Let's marry her to our souls, wherein's no lust, and honorably love her.
Let it be.
For honest women are so seld and rare, 'tis good to cherish those poor few that are. You of easy wax. Do but imagine now the disease has left you, how leprously that office would have clinged unto your forehead. All mothers that had any graceful hue would have worn masks to hide their face at you. It would have grown to this, that your foul name, green-colored maids, would have turned red with shame.
And then our sister, full of hireling baseness.
There had been boiling lead again, the Duke's son's great concubine, a drab of state, a cloth a silver slut, to have her train borne up, and her soul trail in the dirt.
Great to be miserably great, rich to be eternally wretched.
Common madness. Ask but the thrivingest harlot in cold blood, she'd give the world to make her honor good. Perhaps you'll say, but only to the Duke's son in private. Why, she first begins with one, who afterwards at thousands proves a whore. Break ice in one place, it will crack in more.
Most certainly applied.
Oh, brother, you forget our business.
And well remembered. Joy's a subtle elf. Think man's happiest when he forgets himself. Farewell, once dry, now wholly watered mead. Our hearts wear feathers that before were lead.
I'll give you this, that one I never knew pled better for and gainst the devil than you.
You make me proud, aunt.
Commend us in all virtue to our sister.
Aye, for the love of heaven to that true maid.
With my best words.
Aye, that was motherly said.
And exit Vindice and Hippolito.
I wonder now what fury did transport me. I feel good thoughts begin to settle in me. Oh, with what forehead can I look on her, whose honor I have so impiously beset? And here she comes.
Enter Castiza.
Now, mother, you have brought with me so strongly that what for my advancement is to calm the trouble of your tongue, I am content.
Content to what?
To do as you have wished me, to prostitute my breast to the Duke's son, and put myself to common usury.
I hope you will not so.
Hope you I will not? That's not the hope you look to be saved, then.
Truth, but it is.
Do not deceive yourself. I am as you, e'en out of marble wrought. What would you now? Are you not pleased yet with me? You shall not wish me to be more lascivious than I intend to be.
Strike not me cold.
How often have you charged me on your blessing to be a cursed woman? When you knew your blessing had no force to make me lewd, you laid your curse upon me. I did more, but mother's curse is heavy. Where that lights, sunset in storm, and daughters lose their rights.
Good child, dear maid, if there be any spark of heavenly intellectual fire within thee, oh, let my breath revive it to a flame. Put not all that out with woman's wilful follies. I am recovered of that foul disease that haunts too many mothers. Kind, forgive me, make me not sick in health. If then my words prevailed when they were wickedness, how much more now when they are just and good?
I wonder what you mean. Are not you she for whose infect persuasions I could scarce kneel out my prayers, and had much ado in 3 hours reading to untwist so much of the black serpent as you wound about me?
'Tis unfruitful, child, and tedious to repeat what's past. I'm now your present mother.
'Tis too late.
Bethink again, thou knowest not what thou sayest.
No, deny advancement, treasure, the Duke's son.
Cease, I spoke those words, and now they poison me. What will the deed do then? Advancement? True, as high as shame can pitch. For treasure, who'll know that a harlot rich? Or build by the purchase of her sin a hospital to keep her bastards in? The Duke's son, oh, when women are young courtiers, they are sure to be old beggars. To know the miseries of most harlots' taste, thou'dst wish thyself unborn when thou art unchaste.
Oh, mother, let me twine about your neck and kiss you till my soul melt on your lips. I did this but to try you.
Oh, speak truth.
Indeed I did, but for no tongue has force to alter me from honesty, maybe. If maidens would, men's words could have no power. Virgin's honor is a crystal tower, which, being weak, is guarded with good spirits, until she basely yields, no ill inherits.
Oh, happy child, faith and thy birth have saved me, 'mong 1,000 daughters, happiest of all others. Be thou a glass for maids, and I for mothers.
And they both exit. And that's the end of that scene. I'm not entirely sure what the second half of that scene was, what the point of it was. Really? Anyone got any ideas? Aliki, what do you think?
I mean, it's starting to feel less like a revenger's tragedy and more like a revenger's farce. The whole point was for her to, for us to have that moment of, what? No, she's changed her mind. Oh no, the plot goes the other way, I think.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, it was mildly amusing, but it just, I'm like, what's happening now? Lois.
Yeah, it's all sorts of things, really. I mean, that last line, "Be thou a glass for maid, and I for mothers." I mean, glass here is a mirror, and she's really just, again, being meta-theatrical. You know, this is kind of model of what maids ought to be, and I guess rather ruefully, I'm a model of what mothers can be like, or something. But it is very funny. I mean, the one production I saw of it where Castiza was wearing white in her first scene, I think she came out in bright orange or something, you know, and clearly an air of, I'm going to be the tart of all tarts, you know. And then, you know, showed that she changed her mind. But that kind of, "I did but try you," is such a classic line. And particularly Jacobean plays, we'll do a whole scene on one note and then suddenly say, no, I was just testing you.
Yeah, not really, huh?
Just kidding. Yeah.
Lynn, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, it's almost like this whole sequence is from a different play. It's not necessary for the main plot. I mean, Castiza and Gratiana could just have disappeared from the play after Hippolito and Vindice thwarted Lussurioso's designs, or at least delayed them for long enough that the play will end before anything comes of it. It's almost like the play is trying to have a little oasis of redemption here in the middle of all this carnage and corruption. And I'm not sure how that works. I mean, I have seen this once, and I don't remember this scene seeming to be a bad fit. But I don't really remember very much about it either.
Well, I mean, it's quite, because I was not expecting that scene to go the way that it did. I was fully expecting Vindice to run his mother through, and the fact that she cries, and he's like, oh yeah, no, they're genuine tears actually. Oh, all right then, go on. I mean that it was kind of it was nice in a way. It was a nice bit of light relief. It was a nice bit of comic relief amongst all the the murder, but it was just quite surprising. but not necessarily unwelcome. Lois.
Yeah, I mean, one rather effective bit is when she tells him, "No tongue but yours could have bewitched me."
Yeah.
So, because you are a really good villain. You're really good at this. Because I think he is always thinking that I'm basically a virtuous man putting on these various guises. But when she tells him how good he is at it, I mean, it's part of the whole moral thing in the play. How much can you pretend to be evil without becoming evil?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Mark.
Yeah, and if I'm interpreting his response to that line correctly, he seems to be kind of acknowledging that. He's like, you know what? You're right. I'm a terrible person. I am really good at corrupting people. Oh, what have I done?
Yeah.
Lynn, did I see your hand flash up there? No. Kyle.
I was just thinking about how, I don't know, it seems to be interesting that there's this like ambition, which I'm guessing is going to meet with death, and then that's part of what's going on here. But that women have that same ambition, and it's kind of punished rather than with death, kind of with chastisement about sexuality. That's the thing I'm noticing.
Yeah. Anyone else? Oh yes, Eric.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this bit because there's some parts that seem like they're meant to rhyme, like where the lights, sunset in storm, and daughters lose their rights, and that kind of stuff. But I'm not sure what the rhyme is meant to be doing. It doesn't really I mean, it kind of, and also, I mean, Elf forgets himself, all that stuff, mead, lead, and you, and all that stuff. It's kind of a very sort of, I don't know, it's like a comforting scene in a way, but also not really. I don't know. Yeah.
Lois.
Yeah, I think one reason why there's so much rhyme in that scene is that it is very sententious. I mean, a lot of those lines are sententiae, moral statements. It's one of the odd things in the play that people are doing all this awful stuff, but even the worst of them will come out with very moral lines. We know what we're doing. We know what we should be doing. We're just doing something else. And, I mean, they often do quote Medea's line in Seneca's play, "Video meliora proboque deteriora sequor." I see and approve the better, I follow the worse. And that's sort of what's going on. But yeah, I think it's full of, very effective little rhyming couplets. And yes, and I love that Vindice line. Actually, I think man's happiest when he forgets himself, because that suggests, the melancholy, the whole atmosphere of the play. I think there's another great line. I think it's in the middle section of the play where either Ambitioso or Supervacuo says, "I see now there's nothing serious, there's nothing sure in mortality but mortality."
Yes, indeed. Well, let's see if we're going to get any more mortality. I have a feeling we are. Act 5. We're going into Act 5 now. Scene 1. Enter Vindice and Hippolito, with the Duke's body dressed as Vindice, which they arrange.
So, he leans well. Take heed you wake him not, brother.
I warrant you my life for yours.
That's a good lay, for I must kill myself. Brother, that's I that sits for me. Do you mark it? And I must stand ready here to make away myself yonder. I must sit to be killed, and stand to kill myself. I could vary it not so little as thrice over again. It has some 8 returns like Michaelmas term.
That's enough, oh conscience.
But, Sirrah, does the Duke's son come single?
No, there's the hell on it. His faith's too feeble to go alone. He brings flesh flies after him that will buzz against supper time and hum for his coming out.
Ah, the fly flap of vengeance beat him to pieces. Here was the sweetest occasion, the fittest hour to have made my revenge familiar with him. Show him the body of the Duke his father, and how quaintly he died, like a politician in a hugger-mugger, made no man acquainted with it, and in catastrophe slain him over his father's breast. Ugh, mad to lose such a sweet opportunity.
Nay, pish, prithee be content. There's no remedy present. May not hereafter times open in as fair faces as this?
They may, if they can paint so well.
Come now, to avoid all suspicion, let's forsake this room and be going to meet the Duke's son.
Content. I'm for any weather. Hard. Step close. Here he comes.
Enter Lussurioso.
My honored lord.
Me, both you both present.
Ye newly, my lord, just as your lordship entered now. About this place we had notice given he should be, but in some loathsome plight or other.
Your honor private.
Private enough for this, only a few attend my coming out.
Death rot those few.
Stay, yonder's the slave.
Mass, there's the slave indeed, my lord. 'Tis a good child, he calls his father slave.
Aye, that's the villain, the damned villain. Softly, tread easy.
I warrant you, my lord, we'll stifle in our breaths.
That will do well. Base rogue, thou sleepest thou thy last. 'Tis policy to have him killed in his sleep, for if he waked, he would betray all to them.
But, my lord...
Ha? What's this?
Shall we kill him now he's drunk?
Aye, best of all.
Why, then he will ne'er live to be sober.
No matter, let him reel to hell.
But being so full of liquor, I fear he will put out all the fire.
Thou art a mad beast.
And leave none to warm your lordship's gulls within, for he that dies drunk falls into hellfire like a bucket of water.
Come, be ready. Make your sword. Make your swords or make your swords? Think of your wrongs. This slave has injured you.
Troth, so he has, and he has paid well for it.
Meet with him now.
You'll bear us out, my lord.
Now, my lord, for nothing, think you? Quickly now.
Vindice and Hippolito stab the corpse, which falls. Thump. There he lies.
Yes, sound effects. Nimbly done. Oh, villains, murderers! This old Duke, 'tis the old Duke, my father.
That's a jest.
What, stiff and cold already? Oh, pardon me to call from you your names. 'Tis none of your deed. That villain Piero, whom you thought now to kill, has murdered and left him thus disguised.
And not unlikely.
Rascal, was he not ashamed to put the Duke into a greasy doublet?
He has been cold and stiff, who knows how long.
Marry that I do.
No words, pray, of anything intended.
Oh, my lord.
I would fain have your lordship think that we have small reason to prate.
Faith, thou sayest true. I now forthwith sent to court for all the nobles, bastard Duchess, tell how here by miracle we found him dead, and in his raiment that foul villain fled.
That will be the best way, my lord, to clear us all. Let's cast about to be clear.
Oh, Nuncio, sorted out, and the rest.
Enter Nuncio, Sordido, and the rest.
My lord?
My lord?
Be witnesses of a strange spectacle, choosing for a private conference that sad room. We found the Duke, my father, gealed in blood.
My lord the Duke, run, hie thee, Nuncio. Startle the court by signifying so much.
This much by wit a deep revenger can, when murder's known to be the clearest man. We're farthest off, and with as bold an eye survey his body as the standers by.
My royal father too basely led blood by the malevolent slave.
Hark, he calls thee slave again.
He has lost, he may.
Oh, sight, look hither, his lips are gnawn with poison.
How, his lips? By the mass they be. Oh, villain! Oh, rogue! Ah, slave! Ah, rascal!
Oh, good deceit. He quits him with like terms.
Where?
Which way?
Enter Ambitioso and Supervacuo with nobles, gentlemen, guards, etc.
Over what roof hangs this prodigious comet in deadly fire?
Behold, my lords, the Duke my father's murdered by a vassal that owes this habit, and here left disguised.
Enter Duchess and Spurio.
My lord and husband!
Reverend Majesty.
I've seen these clothes often attending on him.
That noble man has been in the country, for he does not lie.
Learn of our mother. Let's dissemble too. I'm glad he's vanished, so I hope are you.
You may take my word for it.
Oh, Dad dead? Aye, one of his cast sins will send the fates most hearty commendations by his own son. I'll tug in the new stream till strength be done.
Where be those two that did affirm to us? My lord the Duke was privately rid forth.
Oh, pardon us, my lords. He gave that charge. On our lives, if he were missed at court, to answer so, he rode not anywhere. We left him private with that fellow here.
Confirmed.
Oh heavens, that false charge was his death. Impudent beggars, durst you to our face maintain such a false answer? Bear him straight to execution.
My lord,
Urge me no more. In this the excuse may be called half the murder.
You've sentenced well.
Away, see it be done.
Could you not stick? See what confession doth. Who would not lie when men are hanged for truth? Am I right, Hippolito?
Sorry, I've lost my place. I've been scrolling madly trying to find it and trying to keep a straight face and hoping I didn't have a line, and I failed.
Page 72.
70. Nope.
75 on mine.
yeah, brother,
Good.
how happy.
I beg your pardon. Yes. Brother, how happy is our vengeance?
Why, it hits past the apprehension of indifferent wits.
My lord, let post horses be sent into all places to entrap the moon.
Post horses!
My lord, we're something bold to know our duty. Your father's accidentally departed. The titles that were due to him meet you.
Meet me. I'm not at leisure, my good lord. I've many griefs to dispatch out the way. Welcome, sweet titles. Talk to me, my lords, of sepulchres and mighty emperor's bones. That's what for me.
So one may see by this how foreign markets go. Courtiers have feet of the nines and tongues of the 12s. They flatter dukes, and dukes flatter themselves.
Oh, my lord, 'tis your shine must comfort us.
Alas, I shine in tears like the sun in April.
You are now my lord's grace.
My lord's grace, I perceive you will have it so.
'Tis but your own.
Then heavens give me grace to be so.
He prays well for himself.
Madam, all sorrows must run their circles into joys, no doubt, but time will make the murderer bring forth himself.
He were an ass then, i' faith.
In the meantime, let us bethink the latest funeral honours due to the Duke's cold body, and withal, calling to memory our new happiness, speed in his royal son. Lords, gentlemen, prepare for revels.
Revels.
A time hath several falls, griefs lift up joys, feasts put down funerals.
Come then, my lords, my favors to you all. The Duchess is suspected foully bent. I'll begin dukedom with her banishment.
And exit the Duke. Exit Duke Lussurioso. I beg your pardon. He's now Duke. Nobles and Duchess.
Revels.
Aye, that's the word. We are firm yet. Strike one strain more, and then we crown our wit.
And exit Hippolito and Vindice.
Well, have at the fairest mark, so said the Duke when he begot me. And if I miss his heart or near about, then have at any. Bastard scorns to be out.
Notice thou that Spurio, brother?
Yes, I note him, to our shame.
He shall not live. His hair shall not grow much longer. In this time of revels, tricks may be set afoot. Seest thou yon new moon? It shall outlive the new Duke by much. This hand shall dispossess him. Then we're mighty. A mask is treason's license, that build upon. 'Tis murder's best face when a visor's on.
Exit Supervacuo.
Did so? 'Tis very good. And do you think to be Duke then, kind brother? I'll see fair play drop one and fair the other.
And exit Ambitioso. And that's the end of that scene. Oh, I do love a happy family.
Yeah.
That was very, very entertaining. It does strike me actually, this scene and the last one taken in combination, it's almost like this tragedy is turning into a parody of comedy. If you know what I mean. There's a lot of tropes that you find at the ends of comedies with, like, you know, I'm only doing this to test you. Oh, I repent and it's all going to be fine. And oh yes, and the Duke is now on the throne and everything's happy. On one level, it was kind of reading a bit like the end of a comedy. This, apart from it's not obviously a comedy, and neither is it the end, which I don't know. I'm finding quite entertaining. I don't know about anyone else. Thoughts from the room. Lynn.
I just want to quickly note to sort of unconfuse our listeners. I said a line. It wasn't my line. It was Ambitioso's line.
Oh, okay. Yes. And thank you also, Mark, for doing the stage direction. I did actually say the stage direction, but I'd managed to mute myself. I was already unmuted when I thought I was muted. And so, yes, nobody heard it. So thank you for stepping in, because it was a very important stage direction there where they stab him. Anyone else got anything to add? It was quite a fun little scene, that, I thought. Quite fun to stage. No? Okay, right, let's move on then into Act 5, Scene 2. We're galloping towards the end of the play here. Enter Vindice and Hippolito with Piero and other lords.
My lords, be all of music. Strike old Greece into other countries that flow in too much milk and have faint livers, not daring to stab home their discontents. Let our hid flames break out as fire, as lightning, to blast this villainous dukedom vexed with sin. Wind up your souls to their full height again.
How?
Which way?
Anyway, our wrongs are such we cannot justly be revenged too much.
You shall have all enough. Revels are toward, and those few nobles that have long suppressed you are busied to the furnishing of a mask, and do affect to make a pleasant tale on't. The masking suits our fashioning. Now comes in that which must glad us all. We, too, take pattern of all those suits, the color, trimming, fashion, into an undistinguished hair almost. Then, entering first, observing the true form, in a strain or two we shall find leisure to steal our swords out handsomely. And when they think their pleasure sweet and good, in midst of all their joys, they shall sigh blood.
Weightily, effectually.
Before t'other maskers come.
We're gone, all done and past.
But how for the Duke's guard?
Let that alone. By one and one their strength shall be drunk down.
There are 500 gentlemen in the action that will apply themselves and not stand idle.
Oh, let us hug your bosoms.
Come, my lords, prepare for deeds. Let other times have words.
And they all exit. And again, we've just got a very little short scene there, just to kind of, I guess it's to kind of break up the action and give everyone time to get changed into their masking robes. But it does give you these little short scenes. They do create this sense of like, you know, the plot is gathering, momentum is building, it's all coming to a head. Lois.
Yeah. Do you think they really have got 500 gentlemen? And when on earth did they find time to get this little army together? Or is he just lying through his teeth?
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Aliki.
It's also very funny to hear Vindice, who absolutely loves the sound of his own voice, going, "Oh yes, no, enough talking, let's do things."
Yeah. Yes. Well, I mean, he had to be fair. He has been a man of action as well.
Yeah.
But yes, no, he does. You're right. He does love the sound of his own voice. Anyone got anything else to add here, Lynn? Yes.
Yeah, this is the one place in this script where I think the scenes really show. I mean, this is obviously like a buffer scene, like you said. And there's been no hint up to now that there's a faction in court that recognizes the corruption and is ready for regime change. I mean, like, this wasn't signaled at all. But I don't know, you just like trot through it quickly and get on to the next scene, and I don't think your audience is going to notice in performance that it seems a little dramaturgically a weakness.
Well, I wasn't here for the middle half, the middle section of the play. Are you telling me that there wasn't a whole scene where the third noble got to list all his grievances?
Yeah, Lois is going to correct
Lois.
Well, just that what's odd about the scene is that Antonio isn't in it, because he's the one that he had a whole scene explaining that his wife had been raped and then committed suicide, and then everybody gathered round, including Hippolito, and agreed to take vengeance. But if he were here, I think it would be much clearer that this is that crowd.
Yes, absolutely. I guess if you were staging this, you would probably turn third noble into, or one of the others into Antonio, because that would actually make an awful lot of sense. Mark.
Yeah, on that same note, Piero was in that scene where Antonio and Hippolito and some other folks were talking about it. So he helps carry that a little bit in terms of like, yes, Piero was one of the folks who's like, I will make a vow to get revenge.
Yes, and First Lord was just in the previous scene, but being threatened with execution, so you can see how he'd be feeling a bit miffed. But random Third Lord, I think we could definitely turn him into Antonio in a staging. Lynn.
Actually, there's a reason Antonio's absent from this scene, and but I won't spoil that.
Oh.
Remind me, and I'll explain my rationale for saying that at the end.
Right.
Or Lois will, she's nodding.
Intriguing. Okay, in which case, let us gallop on then to the final scene, I think, of the play. Act 5, Scene 3. In a dumb show, the procession of the young Duke with all his nobles, then sounding music. A furnished table is brought forth. Then enter the Duke and his nobles to the banquet. A blazing star appeareth.
Many harmonious hours and choicest pleasures fill up the royal number of your years.
My lords, we're pleased to thank you, though we know it is but your duty now to wish it so.
Oh, that shine makes us all happy.
His Grace frowns.
We must say he smiles.
I think we must.
That foul, incontinent Duchess we have banished. The bastard shall not live. After these rebels will all begin strange ones, and he and the stepsons shall pay their lives for the first subsidies. You must not frown so soon, else I've been now.
My gracious lord, please you prepare for pleasure. The mask is not far off.
We are for pleasure. Beshrew thee, what art thou? Thou madest me start. Thou hast committed treason, a blazing star.
A blazing star? Where, my lord?
Spy out.
See, my lords, a wondrous, dreadful one.
I am not pleased at that ill-knotted fire, that bushing, flaring star. Am not I, Duke? Should not quake me now. Had it appeared before, I might then have justly feared, but yet they say, whom art and learning weds when stars wear locks, they threaten great men's heads. Is it so? You are red, my lord.
May it please your grace, it shows great anger.
That does not please our grace.
Yet here's the comfort, my lord. Many times when it seems most near, it threatens farthest off.
Faith, and I think so too.
Besides, my lord, you're gracefully established with the loves of all your subjects, and for natural death. I hope it will be 80 years a coming.
Do you? No more but 80 years.
80, I hope, my lord.
And 50, aye.
But 'tis my hope, my lord, you shall ne'er die.
Give me thy hand. These others I rebuke. He that hopes so is fittest for a duke. Thou shalt sit next me. Take your places, lords. We're ready now for sports. Let 'em set on. You think we shall forget you quite anon.
I am coming, my lord. And indeed enter the mask of revengers, the 2 brothers Vindice and Hippolito, and 2 lords more.
As well. Brothers and bastard, you dance next in hell.
The revengers dance. At the end steal out their swords, and these 4 kill the 4 at the table in their chairs. It thunders.
Mark thunder! Dost know thy cue, thou big-voiced crier? Duke's groans are thunder's watchwords.
So, my lords, you have enough.
Come, let's away, no lingering.
Follow. Go!
Exit the revengers without Vindice.
No power is angry when the lustful die. When thunder claps, heaven likes the tragedy.
And then Vindice exits.
Oh.
Enter the other mask of intended murderers, stepsons, bastard, and a 4th man coming in dancing. The Duke recovers a little in voice and groans, calls a guard, treason, at which they all start out of their measure, and turning towards the table, they find them all to be murdered.
Whose groan was that?
Treason, a guard.
How now? All murdered?
Murdered?
And those his nobles?
Here's the labor saved. I thought to have sped him. Sploods, how came this?
Then I proclaim myself. Now I am Duke.
Thou Duke? Brother, thou liest.
And he stabs Supervacuo.
That must be.
Slave, so dost thou.
And he stabs Ambitioso.
Base villain, hast thou slain my lord and master?
And he stabs Spurio. Fantastic stabbing choreography here. Enter Vindice, Hippolito, and 2 lords.
Pistols, treason, murder! Help! Guard my lord the Duke!
Enter Antonio and guards.
Lay hold upon these traitors.
They take the 4th man, who by my reckoning is the only one left standing.
Oh.
Last, the Duke is murdered!
And the nobles!
Surgeons! Surgeons! Heart, does he breathe so long?
A piteous tragedy, able to make an old man's eyes bloodshot.
Oh.
Look to my lord the Duke! Vengeance throttle him! Confess, thou murderous and unhallowed man! Didst thou kill all these?
None but the bastard I.
How came the Duke slain then?
We found him so.
Oh, villain.
Hark!
Those in the mosque did murder us.
Ah, you now, sir. Ah, marble impudence. Will you confess now?
Blood, 'tis all false.
Away with that foul monster dipped in a prince's blood.
Heart, 'tis a lie.
Oh, no, sorry. Let him have a bitter execution.
New marrow. No, it cannot be expressed. How fares my lord the Duke?
Farewell to all. He that climbs highest has the greatest fall. My tongue is out of office.
Air, gentlemen, air! Now thou'lt not prate on it. 'Twas Vindice murdered thee.
Oh,
Murdered thy father.
oh.
And I am he. Tell nobody.
And just in time, Lussurioso dies.
So, the Duke's departed.
It was a deadly hand that wounded him. The rest, ambitious who should rule and sway after his death, were so made all away.
My lord was unlikely.
Now the hope of Italy lies in your reverend years.
Your hair will make the Silver Age again, when there were fewer but more honest men.
The burthen's weighty, and will press age down. May I so rule that heaven may keep the crown.
The rape of your good lady has been quitted with death on death.
Just is the law above. But of all things it put me most to wonder how the old Duke came murdered.
Oh, my lord.
It was the strangeliest carried. I not heard the like.
Was all done for the best, my lord.
All for your grace's good. We may be bold to speak it now. 'Twas somewhat witty carried, though we say it. 'Twas we two murdered him.
You two.
None else, i' faith, my lord. Nay, 'twas well managed.
Lay hands upon those villains.
Guards, take them.
How? On us?
Bear them to speedy execution.
Heart, was not for your good, my lord.
My good, away with them. Such an old man as he, you, that would murder him, would murder me.
It's come about.
Sport, brother, you begun.
May not we set as well as the Duke's son? Thou hast no conscience. Are we not revenged? Is there one enemy left alive amongst those? 'Tis time to die, and we ourselves are foes. When murderers shut deeds close, this curse does seal 'em. If none disclose 'em, they themselves reveal 'em. This murder might have slept in tongueless brass, but for ourselves and the world died an ass. Now I remember, too, here was Piero brought forth a knavish sentence once. No doubt, said he, but time will make the murderer bring forth himself. 'Tis well he died. He was a witch. And now, my lord, since we are in forever, this work was ours, which else might have been slipped. And if we list, we could have nobles clipped, and go for less than beggars. But we hate to bleed so cowardly. We have enough. I' faith, we're well. Our mother turned, our sister true. We die after a nest of dukes. Adieu.
And exit Vindice and Hippolito with guards.
How subtly was that murder closed. Bear up those tragic bodies. 'Tis a heavy season. Pray heaven their blood may wash away all treason.
And they exit, and that is the end of the play. Well, that was a hoot.
Happily ever after.
They did. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, I see now what you mean about Antonio not needing to be in that previous scene. Fair enough. Yes, he needs to be blissfully ignorant of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hoot. It is kind of weird. It is weirdly like a comedy. That does feel like a comedy ending. Is it just me being sick and twisted, or no, other people are nodding too? Thoughts from the room?
I agree completely. I said Revenger's farce earlier, and I think I'm vindicated, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was just so funny. Because the thing is, all the way through, well, I'm saying all the way through, I wasn't actually here for the middle session, so I don't know, maybe he redeemed himself, but I get the impression not. I mean, Vindice has just been insufferable all the way through this. And so, it's just the fact that he would just give himself away like that is just the most perfect ending. That's absolutely hilarious. Lynn.
Yeah, and even if even, I mean, a lot of how we feel about Vindice depends on the actor inhabiting that role. I mean, even if we like him, even if we're happy that he got what he wanted, this last speech basically says, I got what I wanted. I got revenge. We preserved our sister's chastity. We converted our mother morally. My work here is done. I'm good with it.
Yeah. Adieu.
So yeah. The play is over. The play is over.
Yeah.
Roll. I'm done.
Yeah.
So,
Marvelous. Yeah. Anyone else got any thoughts? Kyle.
I just love it. I mean, I think it reads like I mean, I didn't even realize like it's so much parody of all the tragedies that I've read, and now I'm starting to think like, oh, so that's actually like a trope of this genre, that you have this woman who's got to be forgiven and forced to see what she's done wrong and all that. I mean, just all of it is wonderful.
It really, really is, isn't it? And actually, I really like the fact that, and maybe it's because we read the Duchess of Malfi the other week, and I'm still a bit, traumatized from that. But all the women do really well. Like the mother and the daughter are like, oh yeah, it's all fine. We've made up, and we're singing off the same hymn sheet now. That's all cool. And the Duchess gets banished, which under the circumstances, I'm thinking, yeah, good call for the Duchess. She can go off and find herself some other toy boy who she's not like related to by marriage. So it's, I mean, there's Antonio's poor wife at the beginning, but I don't think we ever actually see her, do we? She's just talked about off stage. She's a ghost character. So
her body is on stage.
Her body is on stage. Yeah.
She's fiance has been killed before the play begins as well.
Oh yes, true. Oh yes, of course, because it's her skull at the beginning. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So early on, the women do not do well, but
they're not characters we care about because we only meet them once they're dead. So
yes, true.
And that's the old world order. I mean, as silly as it plays, as much as it is a farce, like true tragedy, like generic tragedy, we have a new world order, which is sadder but wiser and hopefully more functional.
Yes, less fun, more functional. Lois.
Yeah, one of the directorial questions really is what to do about Antonio at the end, because you can either suggest that this is a really good new world that is opening up, and I think I saw one production where they actually brought the lights up after it had been kind of in darkness most of the play, and there was a sense of and this lovely man saying, yes, now we're going to have complete justice. Or you can do, oh, he was an old man, I'm an old man, I don't like this, you could have killed me too. And in fact, when they did it at the National Theatre, what you actually saw at the end was Antonio sort of approaching Castiza and clearly making some kind of proposition to her. So that's typical of the cynicism of most modern productions, never think that anybody is virtuous,
Yeah, yes. Yeah, I don't know. Call me old-fashioned. I kind of quite like it the way it's written on the page, which I have to say is rare. Normally, I'm like, oh well, we could do this, and we could suggest this, and you could have this person doing this at the end, and they don't need to speak. I actually think this is pretty well, perfectly written. Actually, Lynn.
Yeah, and you could. And speaking of cynicism, you could put the Duke in that sort of conspiracy scene, where you realize there is a faction that's that wants a coup, and then when Antonio says, "Oh, it was you," that's performative. The first rule of hiring a murderer is you murder the murderer.
Yes, you could actually. Yes,
so you could make Antonio a complete cynical character and have him turn on his supporters once the truth is out. So. I mean, you could do that with pretty minimal tweaking of the lines.
You could, yes, just to make your audience go home with bitter ashes in their mouths. Mark.
The whole mask sequence is just so hilarious that it's like Vindice and crew show up pretending to be the maskers, stab And then they're off. And then the next group of people pretending to be the master shows up to kill those people, only to find they're already dead.
They're already dead, god damn it.
And then, of course, just to even raise the ridiculousness, they just one by one, wait, you think you're the Duke? Die. Wait, you think you're the Duke now? Die. I want to be the Duke.
Yeah. I mean, also kudos to the playwright. Oh, I assume it was the playwright. I don't know. Maybe it was the publisher. For that stage direction. Enter the Mask of Revengers, the two brothers. Oh, no, not that one. The Revengers dance. At the end, steal out their swords. And these four kill the four at the table. In their chairs, it thunders. I mean... That's got to be one of the great stage directions of all time. It's just so funny. Lois.
Yeah, there are a couple of other things. I mean, there are a couple of points where there's thunder. And again, it's a question of whether you think that this is Middleton actually writing in some sign of divine feeling about what's going on, or whether it's just a joke. And I think in one production I saw Vindice just banged on a table to make the noise of thunder. But and
Nice.
It does make a joke of it, obviously, just know thy cue. And we've also got the blazing star, which is another ill omen, except again, Lussurioso just says, oh, you thing, we'll forget about you. But I think the funniest thing in the whole play is probably this totally anonymous fourth nobleman who's suddenly being accused, did you kill all these people? No, I just killed him. I just think it's wonderful.
I know, just saw some random dude who comes on and stabs Spurio and then just gets collared for the whole lot. That going back though to that Revengers dance as well, I mean, there is quite a lot of bathos in the fact that the stage direction is so pared down, but you could have a lot of fun with that Revengers dance. And I assume, in production, those of you who've seen it, that, that you can, I mean, you could stage that in quite a swaggery way with them, drawing their swords and, doing all the macho stuff with them, and then suddenly turn around and ha-ha in unison, ha-ha, and they stab them all. I mean, you could make that both impressive and suspenseful and funny all at once, which I think would give your audience a really good time. Lynn.
So I know I keep talking about the production that I saw about 10 years ago in Seattle here in the US. But and I was like the sheet of plastic in the splatter zone, and when they bring out earlier in the play, this was in the middle section, they bring out the brother's head, the wrong brother gets executed. It's in a plastic grocery bag that has a leak.
Oh.
And in the end, or towards the end, where Ambitioso's like, I'm the Duke, and Supervacuo's like, no, I'm the Duke, and they stab each other. One of them had seriously link sausages in his costume. I mean, you might say, oh no, that's just too far. But I'm not sure that there is a too far with this.
Yeah, and I don't think that Middleton kind of wanted there to be a too far, actually. I mean,
I think he would have.
I think he might have, yeah. I mean, we'll never know, but yeah. Did I see other hands? Lois, yeah. Oh, and then Eric.
Yeah, well, Eric can go first. I've been talking.
Eric, go first.
I was just going to say that it's interesting that we find it funny because, if we think about the fact that this was performed in around 16... I mean, we don't usually think about the historical context, but 1606, approximately 1607, whatever, after the gunpowder plot, I mean, yeah, that's a bit shady, risky to do if you consider that, I don't know if... Well, I mean, I don't know if the king would have seen this, but, I mean... murdering a head of state in full view would have been a bit weird.
Well, murdering more than one, actually. Murdering successive generations. Lois.
Yeah, I mean, it's so unlike the gunpowder plot, though. There's no ideology at all behind it. It's all completely personal reasons. It's not a religious thing. Yeah, I think what's strange about the play really is the combination of this really farcical, hilarious plot with some of the speeches, especially Vindice, but also of other people, which are quite moral and often very serious and actually very effective. I mean, Vindice's big speech over the skull is really quite beautiful, and it's often been quoted on its own, just as an example of sort of metaphysical poetry. And the kind of memento mori feeling about it. I mean, it is a speech over a skull, and it obviously recalls other plays, but it's also really quite haunting. And most of the people who wrote about this play before it was ever put on thought of it as very serious and just melancholy, chaotic, whatever. They didn't really get how funny it was at all. But I think that's generally true of Jacobean drama, that until it was put on, people just didn't get the humor of it. You really have to sort of, even just reading it aloud brings it out, obviously, but seeing it makes it even funnier.
Yes, I can imagine. I mean, I don't know. I would have. I can't imagine that people would read this play. And I mean, the thing is, yes, a lot of the time I know exactly what you mean. It's like we read it out loud and then I mean, we had this, you weren't here yesterday, Lois, but we were reading Messalina yesterday, and there was much guffawing and I might have corpsed at one point. But this, just on the page, it's just kind of just gloriously funny. I mean, just the stage directions alone, I would have thought would tip off the reader, but maybe not, but certainly in performance. Anyone got anything else to add? Alan, let's go around the room for final thoughts. Alan,
was this ever seriously set up as being a tragedy rather than a parody?
Well, apparently
because the whole thing just does seem to be so fast that I'm having doubts about whether even at the time it was put on, anyone was thinking it was anything other than a spoof.
Lois, do you want to come back on that? Because
I mean, it's called The Revenger's Tragedy. It was published anonymously. I mean, in fact, it was attributed by somebody later to Cyril Turner, and it's only in the last, 50 years that it's been attributed to Middleton by, quite good word parallels with other plays of his and so on. It really does sound like Middleton. It is an odd play, and it's odd that it wasn't published, attributed to anybody, because I can't believe that anybody thought this was a subversive piece of writing, but maybe it was. It seems to have been performed by the King's Men, and it does read like a parody of several plays they'd done recently. I don't know. I think there is something very odd about it. I mean, Middleton had been writing comedies up till now, I think, but he had also written religious tracts or, very quite moral essays. And it's just as if he's putting the two things together for some rather odd reason.
Yeah. Lynn, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah.
And your final thoughts as well, please.
It raises a really interesting question. Like, what was he thinking? And like, I don't know about the word farce. That might go back this far. But I mean, people weren't thinking in terms of those genres at the time. The genre of parody didn't exist in the way the genre of tragic comedy or the genre of comedy or the genre of pastoral had a label, and people thought in those terms. I'm going to write a pastoral. I'm going to write a history. So Middleton did not think in his head, I'm going to write a farce. I'm going to write a parody. He almost certainly did not think that, because he didn't have the vocabulary. Those genres didn't really have labels yet, although they were emerging. So how seriously was this meant to be taken? It's a really good question. I mean, we certainly know how it works now, and it can, interestingly, if you want to do a serious sort of moralizing take on this. My advisor in graduate school talked about a production he saw, which was done in kind of kabuki style, where it was very stylized. So the violence was choreographic, and the blood was like red ribbons. So you don't have that shock value with the fake blood coming out of the grocery bag. So it's easier for the audience to see it as serious, to see it as moralizing, to see it as, oh, human beings are bad and corrupt. We should not be so bad and corrupt. We should be better. So it actually can be done that way. Not nearly as much fun. So yeah, it's really hard to know where to have Middleton. And again, I mean, just to echo Lois, there's pretty good external evidence that it was Middleton. As I remember, this was listed in the Stationer's Register with another play whose title I forget, which is pretty solidly attributed to Middleton. And the fact that those two are listed as a pair is strong evidence that they were both by the same author. So, yeah, what was he thinking? We don't know, but that's a question for scholars of which I'm only a dilettante. I'm really a practitioner, and this is just hilarious on stage. It's hilarious.
It is gloriously hilarious. It's intriguing that we don't know. I don't think it really matters, as you say, or not from our perspective anyway, as would-be performers. Middleton does definitely have a sardonic side to him, though, doesn't he? We've seen this before. Lois, I'm going to come to you because I'm guessing you want to come back on what Lynn was saying, and then I'm going to go to Mark because I saw his hand up earlier.
Yeah, this word tragedy. I mean, we tend to use it in a slightly different way, I think, from the Elizabethans. I mean, basically they thought, I think, as Byron says in Don Juan, all tragedies are ended by a death, all comedies are ended by a marriage. And it doesn't matter what your feeling about these deaths happens to be. I mean, I think one reason people enjoyed a lot of plays, and especially those that are often called tragedy, is that they were enjoyable. You know, in other words, they were often very funny. And a lot of the most tragic plays of the period are actually quite funny, or they have funny bits in them. So I think the fact that it's called the Revenger's tragedy, it can mean a lot of things. Of course, it can mean the tragedy of being a revenger. You know, we would probably like to take it in a more serious way, but it could just be, you know, the play where there are revengers, in fact, lots and lots of revengers and lots of deaths. Hooray!
Or the tragedy of opening your mouth in the final scene and letting the cat out of the bag. Mark.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it checks all the boxes of being a tragedy, you know, despite the tone being just different from what we might expect from a tragedy. And yeah, I don't see how the mask situation and all the one by one just train of stabbing each other, like, you killed the Duke, now I'm the Duke. You killed the Duke, now I'm the Duke. Like that's always funny, and I don't think it couldn't not be funny. But yeah, it's good stuff.
Very good stuff. Eric, do you have any final thoughts?
I want to murder Vindice in Act 1 and just like end the play.
No!
I don't know. It doesn't do it for me. I think it's just like he's over like talking for too long. But I don't know. Maybe I just need to see a good production of it. So, yeah.
Well, there you go. You see, it's like this is all grist to our mill because one person's pleasure is another person's torture. Yeah. Again, I'm thinking about the Duchess of Malfi. What do you think at home? Let us know. Leave a note in the comments if you think it's a great play, if you think it's a terrible play, or something in between, or better still, become a patron. And then you get to have a say in which productions we do next. If you really enjoyed this, you can vote for it, and then we will do it. And I, for one, would really quite enjoy that. But Eric wouldn't. Let me come now to Rachel. Your final thoughts, please.
Well, this play forever changes how I think of revenge tragedy proper. It's tough to take revenge tragedy proper seriously after this because you see all the conventions so thoroughly mocked. I like it a lot. I think there's something else I wanted to say, but I've forgotten. But yeah, it's the nail in the coffin for revenge tragedies for me.
Well, if you remember what you were going to say, just wave at me and I'll come back to you. But for now, I'll move on to Kyle.
I'm feeling the same way as Rachel. I just loved it. And yeah, I mean, I hadn't read it before and I thought, oh my gosh, it's got everything. And now every time I see a new tragedy or read a new tragedy, I'm going to have to pull this out and go, is it in there? You know, this new thing.
I remember what I was going to say.
Yes.
So the mask that turns into, a murder fest reminds me of another play that I don't think this group has done yet, 'Tis Pity, which is kind of glorious.
We have done it.
And
I've done it, yeah.
And Women Beware Women. So we'll get to those. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Lois, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Gosh, I don't know. I've been talking a lot as it is. No, I'm very fond of this play. I mean, partly because I have seen some really good productions. I don't think I particularly liked it until I saw it in 1964 in Pitlochry. And in fact, they had a very romantic sort of actor as Vindice. But they played some of it really quite seriously. What I remember about it, it was an absolute revelation to me, actually. He did the speech before they murdered the Duke, when he's got the skull dressed up, and the audience, it's real coup de théâtre. I mean, he brings her in, and it looks as if it is a real woman. And then when he reveals the skull, shock to the audience. And then he kind of addresses the skull in that beautiful speech and kind of lulling voice, and he gets the audience all into that kind of mood. And then he suddenly thrust it out over the heads of the first row pretty much and said, "See, ladies, with false forms you deceive men, but cannot deceive worms." And I mean, I just got the concept of emotional sauna, which is what it really seemed to me to be. I mean, it was incredibly invigorating, this going between being kind of lulled into beautiful melancholy speech and suddenly jerked out of it, and direct audience involvement, a bit of satire, and a bit of violence. It was just, you really felt great at the end.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, quite often when we do a tragedy, we're all really perky at the end, which I don't know what that says about us as a group. But this one in particular, with due respect to Eric, yeah, quite a lot of us are feeling quite perky about this one. But I think, more intentionally so. Yeah, sorry.
Fans of things like Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Aliki, let me go. Oh, Lynn, did you have something that you wanted to add?
Yeah, just sort of to comment on that phenomenon that we were talking about. I mean, that sounds like a great production, Lois. What were you, 2? I just imagine Lois like this little toddler going to the theater,
going to see Revenge's Tragedy and getting spattered in blood.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple of productions of plays I don't really admire, but they were so well done, and this play is great. There's something exhilarating about seeing people who are really good at what they do what they do. So yeah, even if it's gross, even if it's tragic, there's something exhilarating about that. About beautiful theater, about well done theater.
And there's a lot to get your teeth stuck into here. I mean, obviously Vindice is a great part, but I think actually quite a few of all the nefarious brothers. Yeah. I think, there are quite a few roles there to have fun with. Aliki, let me come to you for your final thoughts.
I had only ever seen a very bad production before, which simultaneously took it very seriously and also seemed to think that what was said wasn't particularly comprehensible to any modern audience, and therefore threw all the bells and whistles and disco balls and pop songs at it that they possibly could. And I wasn't really looking forward to this, but I've had a wonderful time, and it's really nice to see the text freed from, to have in my mind the text freed from all that conception. I don't know if genre existed, as Lynn was saying, or if this genre existed, but this is it. I mean, I don't see any way that the writer didn't go, "Oh, you like your tragedies, do you? You like your revenge tragedies, do you? Well, here you go."
Yes, I mean, yeah, because he did have a sardonic streak, and he might, he probably, no, he perhaps didn't know, in terms of, he wasn't thinking of it in those terms because they hadn't been invented. But yes, I mean, the concept of taking the piss out of another author's work is was not new at this point. So I think, it's he might well have been doing that deliberately. I don't know. I don't think it matters, though. I think you could certainly strike that balance between, yes, highlighting the really beautiful parts of it, the genuinely sad, uncomfortable parts of it, but then also the comedy as well. And as Lois said, how did you phrase it, Lois? Theatrical sauna? I love emotional sauna. I loved it. I love that. Yes, because taking your audience from hot to cold and back again, just to really freshen up their senses. I have been very freshened up by this play. I hope you have too. If you'd like to join us next time, we read all these early modern thingamajigs. And if you want to join us for one, you're very welcome. Just go to our website, Beyond Shakespeare, and, fill in the form and join us. That's it then for The Revenger's Tragedy. It only remains for me to thank the wonderful readers. Thank you very, very much for both your conversation and insights as well as your reading. And we'll see you again next time. My tongue is out of office.